Good morning, friends. We welcome you to Navrachana University and thank you to all of you for participating in this webinar, the webinar on virtual communication in the age of social distancing. Our speaker is Ms. Manisha Banani. She is a lecturer in School of Business and Law at Navrachana University. This particular topic, let's say communication or say virtual communication in specific, because a lot talk about the social distancing, how to ensure social distancing, what are the benefits, but the other aspects of social distancing, which is being covered today in this webinar. So we thank Manisha ma'am for this webinar, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dinesh sir. Let's start with the webinar. Good morning, everybody, and I heartily welcome you all to yet another webinar hosted by Navrachana University in the series of webinars organized. So as Dinesh sir has already introduced me, you know from the image and the invite, my name is Manisha and I'm a lecturer in School of Business and Law. And today we are going to talk about virtual communication. Before we start, I would like to show you an image and I would want to ask a few things to my audience. Okay. Is the screen visible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Can you put in a presentation mode?
Yes, just a minute, I'll do that. All right, great. So I hope everybody is able to see this image.
Right.
And I'm sure we all resonate with this image and we are very well aware of what's happening, what the idea of this image is, and we can relate to it perfectly well. In fact, this is something that we have been practicing and doing in the past few months. So at this point, I would like to ask my audience, by a show of hands, you have an option of raising your hands in the chat. If you can tell me whether or not by raising your hands, can you understand the essence of this image? I would be able to see you raising your hands during the webinar. Yes, wonderful. So I can
So
see.
all the participants, if you want to raise a hand, you have to click on participants, and on the right hand side bottom corner you'll get a button, three dots. If you click on
Raise
that,
hand.
it will give you an option called raise hand. If you're using mobile phone, in the mobile phone on the right hand side bottom corner there are three dots. If you click on that, it will give you option of raise hand. So you can use that option for raise hand.
Yes, thank you, Dinesh sir, for the information. Wonderful. So I can see two responses at the moment. I'm sure a lot of us, in fact, all of us who have joined, maybe we'll take a little bit of time in understanding how to do it, but I'm sure we all can relate to and resonate with this image. The main essence or idea, if you ask me about this image, is connection. Okay. And the connection that you see in this image is not physical. It's basically using technology, which we call as virtual connection. Okay, so the essence of virtual communication or virtual connection at a time when we are unable to actually physically be present or meeting, which brings us to the Mudde Ki Baat, which is our topic, and that is virtual communication in social distancing. Uh, Okay, so let us first, understand the idea of both these concepts separately. We will come to virtual communication a lot more in detail later on, but first let's talk about what social distancing is. So, social distancing, if you ask me, is one of the most frequently used words, especially in the few months after Corona and sanitizer. This is one of the words that we all have used, we all have heard, we all have practiced, and we see it everywhere. Taking you to a few images that you must have seen, and they have very common, very commonly and strategically placed in a lot of places, especially where public gatherings are expected. So if you go to malls or provision stores, or if you have started working again, maybe in your workplace or in your school or college, anywhere you go, this is a very common sight. We have all seen these images. They are asking us to, distance ourselves from each other, to be safe, to maintain distance. And in a way, if you ask me, these are things that could trigger the loss of connectivity or the loss of communication. For instance, if I'm not even allowed to come and stand next to you, if I'm supposed to maintain a safe distance from you, isn't that one way in which you and I could probably, lose connectivity or probably lose the will to talk? Okay, but we come to the question, has communication stopped? Even after so many restrictions, even after so many things stopped us from connecting to each other, from being there or physically present with each other, have we stopped communicating? Now, luckily, the answer to this question is okay. Thankfully, we are born in an age where we have a lot of technological advancement going on. We have laptops, we have internet, we are moving to progressing towards 5G now. We have devices, we have technology, Wi-Fi, everything. God forbid if this would have happened, say 10, 15, 20 years ago, I don't know if virtual connectivity would have been possible, or connectivity of any kind for that matter would have been possible. Imagine if you and I were in this situation, say 20 years back, we wouldn't be sitting and talking to each other like this. Okay. So communication luckily has not stopped. In fact, if you ask me, and if you ask yourself, if you introspect, you will come to the conclusion that we are more connected than ever before. We are, in fact, making more efforts, finding out different ways, different platforms, different reasons to get in touch with each other. So communication has in fact increased, if not stopped, definitely not stopped. Okay, so we come to the very first and the most basic question of the discussion that we are going to have today. Before we progress to the idea of virtual communication, let us first understand what communication as a term is. So at this point, I'm going to ask my audience, friends in the audience, like Dinesh sir has explained to you the process, maybe you could write a message to me in the chat box in a word or two explaining the concept, whatever you understand. So I'm going to check my chat box and I hope that I will get a few responses. Okay. Well, we need to also understand at this point that technology obviously is going to come with a lot of cons. The pros are, in fact, many, countless, but you need to understand, in fact, we need to understand that with the endless amount of opportunities or advantages that such things bring, they also have certain things, maybe certain glitches. So at this point, I would like to stop and say that during a virtual, communication or conversation, it is very much possible to face technological glitches. At this point, it is highly possible that we are connected through this app Zoom. It might just stop working. We might be logged out of the app, or the Wi-Fi signal will drop down to poor from excellent. So we need to understand that with the advent of technology, we also have to understand that things are becoming easier, but we need to take a breather. If there is any glitch or any problem in technology, it gives us enough time to stop and think. So patience is a key, or it's a virtue, I would say. So meanwhile, I shall go back to the chat box and see if I've got responses. Okay. All right. Without waiting further, let's discuss what is the meaning of this term. I'm sure all of you understand, and all of you will be able to relate to me when I say that communication is basically, in the truest of sense, the act of transferring an idea or a message from one person to other. One person me being the sender to another, which is you being the receiver. So the receiver can be one person, it can be two, it can be a group, mass, public, it can be the entire country, the whole world at once, can be anything. Basically, the essence is to ensure that what you have as an idea or a message is shared or put across to the audience, right? So that is communication. We all understand that this is something that is not new or not recent. Communication has always been present, it has always been there, even before we had language, right? So people used to communicate using sign languages, right? So even before we had words, we could communicate each other. You can see animals communicating with each other. What language do you think they are speaking in? They don't know how to speak. So it has always been there and it will stay. But what is changed in the current times is the way we are doing it. So maybe, when we were little or in our younger days, we had landline phones or we had only text messages, we moved on to mobiles and then smartphones, and now we have very advanced devices. Uh, we have laptops and desktops and everything. So the way that we are communicating is changing. There is nothing that is extremely new. Okay, what is new is we are progressing, we are finding out different ways of doing the same thing. So it's not like I can say, I've never had a pizza before. I have tasted a variety of pizzas, but what I'm trying to do now is probably learning how to eat pizza with a fork and knife. Okay, so it's not like I haven't eaten it before, but the way I'm eating it or trying to eat it is changing, so I'm upgrading myself, right? Okay, so now we come to the next point, which is virtual communication. So, why do we think virtual communication is required? What is it? Why is it even important? So, these are certain digital platforms. I'm sure that they have left a mark in our minds, because of the excess usage of these apps in the past few months. I'm sure you have heard of Skype, you've heard of Zoom, Google Duo, Microsoft Teams, and in the center you can see Say Namaste. It's our very own Indian app, video conferencing app, very good example of being vocal for local. Has been introduced very recently, but we have used all of these apps at some point or other, more so during the last few months. That's because that was the only way we could connect with people outside our homes. Okay, because we could not step out and we could not physically be there. So we come to the next point, which is what is virtual communication and why do we need it? So through the process of this interaction, we are basically going to understand what virtual communication is, what are the components that are involved in the process, and what do we need to do when we are trying to make our virtual presence felt, and more importantly, what we should not be doing during any virtual conversation or any presentation or meeting. Okay, so let us first understand what is virtual communication. Okay, so virtual, the word we understand the essence of communication, and we understand it as a term which means that you and I at this moment are not able to connect to each other. We cannot be physically present with each other, we cannot meet face to face. So what do we do at the moment? There is an extremely important task at hand. We are working together, but we can't be together. But the show must go on. We have to finish our work. So how do we connect? We use the platforms. We use, say, Zoom or WhatsApp or any kind of digital platform that is going to connect you and I. Okay. So basically, in the absence of physical, connectivity or presence or proximity, when I try to connect with somebody using technology or digital platforms, I would call that virtual communication. Very simply put, it's very easy to understand, right? So, why do you think I need this? Why am I using a digital platform? Okay, why can I not wait till everything gets better, and then, I connect with you or I meet you and then we discuss. Okay, we move on to the very first and the most basic reason is it is the need of the hour. When we started with this initially, we thought that everything will be over in the next 21 days, because that's what we were informed, that in these 21 days we're hoping that things may get better. Who knew that it would go on for so many months? Okay, and as humans, we all understand, if we think rationally, we know that all of us are at a risk of exposing ourselves to the virus. We are at a major health risk, right? So we have willingly, drawn a line where, if you can see in the image, the girl is drawing a boundary. Okay, we are willingly, drawing a Lakshman Rekha that we are not ready to cross, for the sake of our health, for the sake of the health of our family members, or everyone that we are associated with. Okay, in the world at the point. Okay, so need of the hour, virtual communication is something that is going to keep our boat sailing. We don't want to sink. We do not want any crisis or any form of health crisis or emergency to stop us from working or upgrading ourselves, from learning, developing ourselves. So it's the need of the hour. Secondly, we have no choice. We have no choice but to embrace technology. So the only choice that we have, the two choices I would say that we have, is either we join hands with technology and we progress in this process. We have learned a lot of things. We have learned how to communicate without being actually present. We have learned how to use devices. We have learned how to install. We've learned at the very moment, initially you learned that there is a feature of raising hands in a meeting. So we are learning new things. We are evolving and growing as it. We have no choice. The only other choice that we probably have is to be the frog in the well. If I say that I do not wish to be a part of this virtual, trend of communication, because I believe that things will get better and we will all be able to physically connect with each other. And till then, I think I can take a break and slow down. But that just leaves me, without any exposure to any kind of knowledge. So I'm not in the process. Also, I'm not upgrading myself. Virtual communication gives you so much. There is nothing to lose. There's only so learn from these things, right? Okay, we come to trying to understand what are the possible advantages, or what is the brighter side of not being physically present and in a conversation. So if you look at the right side of your screen, you will see the image that shows money. So this signifies that there is a significant drop in expenses and costs that we were incurring otherwise. Okay, relate this with very simple examples where, for instance, if you had to travel to work every day, if you're, living in a big city and you commute using public transport, you spend hours and hours, traveling. The amount of time, the amount of energy, and the money that you used to spend while you were traveling, you are saving that. So the cost is coming down. The cost, of course, of the workplace also is affected. The traveling costs, like we mentioned. Okay. Also for young teenagers who really like to spend a lot of time with their friends in ways, spending endless amount of money on expensive coffees just to have an interaction with their friends. Can you imagine the amount of money that you have saved all this while? And the best part is that you have not compromised on communication. You have not stopped communicating. You are spending time with each other. It's the physical proximity is missing. Okay, so it's not like you and I in these 3 months have not spoken to each other at all. Okay, but we have reduced the costs, expenses. Okay, on the left side of the screen, you see productivity. There is an increase in the productivity of even students for that matter, or working professionals. Now, how, if you ask me, how has productivity increased? So, number one, the best part about virtual communication is that you can do it at your convenience. You are in the comfort of your own home. The environment that you are exposing yourself to is very comfortable for you, which makes it, gives you a better chance of coming up with positive or better outputs. So in this case, the environment becomes very favorable for us to have more or increased productivity. Okay, imagine, getting up early every morning. I'm sure for the past few months we've all lost that habit, but getting up every morning and getting ready to go to school or work, but being tired in the process of traveling to and fro from our workplace, that amount of time, uh, that we have saved, we have, given enough physical relaxation to ourselves. And I think that is one of a very major factor in increasing the productivity of any individual, whether you are a student or a working professional, or even somebody who is a homemaker, home manager. Okay, so the productivity, I believe, has increased. Okay, now we come to, we try to understand what are the components in a virtual communication. What is it that I have to ensure that has to be present, or that is an integral part of, any kind of virtual communication, whether it is a meeting, whether it is a session that I'm delivering for my students, whether it is a presentation that you're giving, or just a webinar that you're attending. Okay, so you can see in the image, the crown is on content. So very rightly, this image says that content is the king. Okay, content basically is what you, say during this entire process of communication. What is the idea or message that you're trying to put across to your audience? So, okay, let's again, coming back to understanding it with an example. Imagine you have an online exam today. As a student, you are very well prepared. You have the best laptop, you have an excellent Wi-Fi signal, the headphones are perfect, they're branded and they work very well. Okay, you're on time, you've managed to get up on time, ready for the exam, but you are unable to answer the questions. Okay, or you're in a meeting, dressed in a very crisply, neatly ironed shirt, looking very presentable, but unfortunately, you're not able to answer what your boss is trying to ask you. Do you think that this is how your virtual communication should be, or is it going to make it any effective? Definitely not. So all the other things, they become extremely irrelevant if I do not possess the correct content. So content becomes the king. Now there are a few other things which can make or break your virtual presence in any form of communication that you're doing using digital platforms. There are three that you can see here: the audience, body language, and technology. There are, of course, others that we will discuss as we move ahead. We talk about audience. So let me take a moment to appreciate as many audience members as I have at this moment. No virtual conversation or no conversation of any kind, whether it is face to face, virtual, or anything, will ever be possible if you do not have an audience. Okay, if you do not have somebody who wants to listen to you. Now, it is not necessary that we always have an audience. Sometimes we all have experienced this. We talk to our own self, right? So we become our own audience. And imagine that you have all these thoughts going on in your mind and you don't pay attention to those thoughts. That means you're not listening to your thoughts. So there is no audience. and no message can be conveyed, or no message is complete without an audience. Okay, there is no point if you don't have an audience. So at this point, again, I'm going to thank my audience for being here. What else do you think we need to do, considering that audience is such an integral part of my virtual presence? So the most basic thing is to know my audience, especially during interactions where you have people who are not very familiar, or maybe they are new to you. You need to understand that the audience needs to connect with your idea. I need to know what they already know, or what they already think, and whether or not my conversation or the information that I am passing is going to have any value for the audience. So if for instance, I'm a teacher and I have my audience as 6 7 year old children, and I teach them virtual communication, social distancing, so they might be able to relate to it a little bit if I put that in very easy or simplified terms. But if I start talking about data analysis, or computing, I've lost the audience right there, right? So they will be diverted. They will not want to listen to me again. Okay. Next, a very, very important step of any virtual communication is to be able to engage your audience. Now, engaging your audience essentially means that I ensure that they are with me on the same page. Okay. In the middle of my conversation, if my audience is diverted to, for example, the background, so if I have in the background, if I have my personal photos on the wall, I can be pretty much sure that the audience would look through me and they would want to see the background. Okay. Also, it highly depends on the kind of content that you have, or what is the purpose of presentation. So if we can go back to, if you remember the very first slide that we saw, I tried to establish a connection with the audience by asking them to raise their hands. Okay, so that's a very small little attempt or way in which I can engage my audience. Again, it depends on the purpose of your interaction. For example, if I'm the boss and if it's a review meeting, I need to have a conversation to and fro with my, team members or colleagues. But if there is a very crucial piece of information that I'm sharing with my students, for instance, if it's related to their exams or filling up of forms or something, I would not want to be interrupted during the time that I am speaking. So maybe the interaction can happen after I'm done. So, but engaging the audience is very important. Again, I would like to mention it totally depends on the purpose of your, presentation and content. And then you need to be a very good and patient listener. Okay, as much importance as we give to speaking in communication, I believe listening is extremely, or equally, I would say, important. Like we mentioned before, if I have nobody to listen who's listening to me, there is no point of me sharing my thoughts, or no point of me passing on this information when there is no receiver on the other end. So I, as a speaker, also have to make sure that I am listening carefully. Maybe when I'm asking questions, or when I am being asked questions by the audience, I have to be patient and I have to listen. We have to be patient with the audience's reactions. We have to be patient with the delay that is happening in the whole process due to errors in technology. Okay, for example, a lot of times it may have happened that you have asked your teammates or students or colleagues to join a meeting at 11 or 12, and they're late by 10 minutes, and then when they join, they say that the Wi-Fi signal was weak, or there was electricity, or there have been, there can be a number of reasons. Sometimes we know that that's not the truth, of course, you know that those are excuses. But I strongly believe that when you are not in physical proximity to the person, you cannot, you know, try, you know, you cannot guess whether the person is actually lying or not. So in this context, you know, we need to be patient, and we have to learn to forego a few errors that are done due to technology. Next, we come to body language. I'm sure we all understand this term. We have uh, observed, we have heard, and we have been exposed to the idea of body language several times. Now, body language, if you, a lot of people argue saying that how is it even possible to understand, gauge, or observe the body language of a person when all I'm able to see is the face and the shoulder. Okay, so there are so many things that are involved in this this term that is very, very broad, right? So the way you stand, your posture, the way you sit, the kind of clothes that you wear, your feet movement, your hands, everything is included. Okay, but believe it or not, it is equally important and crucial during virtual communication. Okay, more so because let us understand that as an audience, if I am attending a virtual, you know, seminar, a webinar, or a meeting, uh, in the best case scenario, I may see the speaker up till the torso. Okay, usually it doesn't fit the frame. What fits the frame is what you can see at the moment. Okay, till my shoulders, the speaker will only be only this much visible. So as a keen listener, if I really want to observe what my speaker is saying, I have nowhere else but to look at the face, right? So your audience is even more keenly observing your facial expressions, your hand movements, everything. So they are observing your body language, maybe not from the torso down or shoulder down, but definitely from what is visible in the screen. So let us start with the first component. We usually start talking about body language by talking about eye contact. How is eye contact even possible from a laptop? So at this moment, if I'm hosting a webinar and I have 20 odd participants, for example, so if I want to see all of them, what am I going to actually see is 20 small blocks on my screen with tiny little heads, and probably I won't be able to see their eyes as well, right? So how do I ensure that the audience feels that I am looking at them when I'm talking? So the catch here, if you can see in the image, is to look at the camera. So focus your gaze on the camera. So when I look at the camera and when you see me in your screen, you will feel like I am looking at you. Okay. You must have been in several video calls with your friends on WhatsApp where you know that the person is looking at himself in the camera, trying to probably, you know, do his hair or getting ready for a screenshot. But the purpose of those calls is extremely different from the purpose of these meetings, or the reason why we're doing this is more professional and very less personal. Okay, so if you can see in this image, he's sitting straight, but he wants to make sure that when he faces the camera, he does not, you know, bend his head down. So what has he done? There's almost like a stand on which he has mounted the laptop, and therefore he is able to look at the camera. This again, the other image, there is a webcam on the desktop which is again aligned to your eyes, so you don't really have to look down or look up while facing the camera. Now the next image that you see is going to be a very good representation of what we know as jugaad. Okay, so basically trying to make optimum utilization of whatever resources that you have around you. And this is something that I believe all of us have learned during this lockdown. Mainly because we could not go out and find resources or find things that we were looking for. So we learned how to make or utilize things that were present. We have tried to put so many things to use that we wouldn't have done otherwise if this situation did not persist, right? So this is about eye contact. Next, we talk about gestures. So again, if I may ask my participants by show of hands, if you can, you know, just raise your hand and tell me, do you understand the meaning of gestures? By show of hands, if Dinesh sir has already explained to you how you can raise your hands in the meeting. If you open the tab that says participants, oh, wonderful. Okay, I've got one response from Dr. Ishan Sharma. That's great. Okay, wonderful. So we proceed ahead and let's discuss what gestures mean. I'm sure we all know that this talks about movement of body parts that signify an idea. Okay, basically we talk about hand movements and movement of the head, and with the help of these movements, I'm trying to show or pass across a message to my listener or audience. Okay, so as we understand, again, it's very difficult to make sure that we understand how am I even going to use my hands in a virtual communication where the best you can see is my shoulder. Now if you look at all these images, can you see all these people have raised their hands slightly higher so that their hands are visible or the gestures are visible to the audience? Okay, otherwise, if you look at the angle of the camera, your hands are not visible. So instead of simply putting them on the table or on your lap, okay, and not making them visible, maybe you are moving your hands, but it's not visible in the camera. So that's of no use, right? So maybe raising your hands a little and then moving them, then showing gestures, that becomes very important. It is a way of connecting with the audience during virtual communication. Also, again, I would like to come back and ask the audience if you can tell me, maybe you can write a message to me in the chat box and tell me what is it that you find common in all these speakers. What is one common thing that all of them are exhibiting? Is there something that you find that is similar in all the pictures apart from the hand movements? Okay, all right, we move on and let's come to the answer to that question is smile. You see, all the speakers are smiling while interacting with their audience. Okay. A smile is probably the best thing that you can possibly wear during your to make your virtual presence felt. It costs nothing, but believe it or not, it is a very, very major factor to establish a rapport with your audience. I mean, imagine being in a virtual meeting and having your boss talking to you or your friend or colleague talking to you, and he looks really tired and sad. Do you think you will, be more interested in listening to him as compared to when he's smiling and talking to you? Okay, it's very, very natural. You are attracted to a smiling face, right? We move on to the next component. So this is our third point where we've discussed what we need to be really present, what we need to do, what we need to avoid, and but what do you think makes all this possible? What is it that makes your virtual presence possible? What is it that makes it possible for you and I to connect at this moment? The answer is technology. Okay, without technology, we definitely wouldn't have had the opportunity to connect to each other during this period especially. So we come to the next point where we try to understand what it includes. So is it limited only to the device? Is it limited only to the apps that we use? Or is there something else? Obviously, the first thing is the digital platform. So in one of the previous slides, we saw a lot of logos of different platforms that are available, that we have made use of, some more than the others, but definitely we are aware of these platforms. So it's completely up to the purpose of your communication. Why do you want to talk to a particular audience? And that helps us to decide what platform we have to pick. Next being the accessibility. Now, for example, if I say somebody comes up to me and says, I have never used Zoom before. And honestly, I think most of us did not use it before the lockdown, right? I heard of it for the first time during this period, and I installed it, and then I learned how to use it. Although it is accessible, but let's take the example of WhatsApp, for instance. It is a digital platform, it is a social media, which we can use to make voice calls, video calls, and even send messages. And it is very easily accessible. In today's times, you will hardly find somebody who will say, I do not have a smartphone, number one. I do not have WhatsApp on my smartphone. Okay. Most of the smartphones that you buy come with WhatsApp pre-installed. So this is an excuse that nobody can make. So in terms of accessibility, it's very convenient, it's easily accessible, it's always there, everybody has it. But how many of us know that there is a restriction on the number of participants that you can include in a video conference or a video call? I'm assuming it's about three or four participants. So this brings us to our next point, which is limit on the number of participants. Okay, so maybe I think that WhatsApp is very convenient. All my team members, all my students have it in their phone, and they are always online, so they will be able to join as soon as I ask them to. But if I want to address a larger crowd, do you think that I would be able to use X platform where there is a restriction on the number of participants? So no. So that is one of the criteria that we use to decide what platform we want to use. Okay, so for instance, Zoom gives me an option of having more number of participants, or Google Duo, or any other for that matter. Next, we come to the device that is being used. This is very, very important. Again, we always narrow down to one major aspect, which is the purpose of of communicating in the first place. So that helps us to understand what device we want to use. So for example, I want to just be a participant where I don't necessarily need to have my audio or video on. I can do it in my phone. There is nothing very crucial that is being shared. I'm just, listening to something, so I can do it on my phone at my own convenience. Okay. But if it's something slightly more, crucial or more professional, for instance, we are recording this meeting. This, I think, would not have been as convenient to do on a mobile as it is to do on a larger screen. Again, larger screen, we have laptops and desktops. So if I want to work at my own convenience, maybe I want to sit on the bed and I want to, attend a virtual meeting, I would prefer a laptop. If I am ready to sit at one particular place on a chair in the same position because my desktop is set up there, so I can use the desktop. Then, one of the major reasons why we avoid using smartphones during any form of virtual communication is they can be a little distracting. For instance, if I am the host of a meeting and I'm using my phone and it starts ringing, I'm getting incessant calls or messages, notifications from social media. They can prove to be a huge distraction. Again, the angle of the camera is very, very important. So usually with phones, you have to be very careful as to where you set up the phone. Either you hold it in your hand, and for that long period of time, holding your phone in your hand becomes a little stressful and inconvenient. Whereas with larger devices, you can just put them somewhere. Again, this can be a distraction. So if you observe this, moving your camera, that is possible in a phone. With larger devices, usually you have already set up, made the setup in advance. So that's about the device. Next, we come to accessories. Basic accessories that we would look at is a headphone and a mic. Usually now we get both of them in the same, in one, like what I'm using at the moment. It could be anything that serves the purpose. It does not necessarily have to be very flashy or very, branded or expensive. As long as it serves the purpose, it's all fine. So you should be able to hear me, and I should be able to hear you. We should be able to put our messages across to each other. Okay. Security concerns again is very important. How secure is the app that you're using for this kind of communication? How secure is it? Is your data at risk? Would you mind putting your data at risk if you know that there is a certain amount of risk involved in using this app? So again, this is very important, a very important factor that I take into consideration while deciding the platform. Oh, there is nothing that can happen without good connectivity, without a good Wi-Fi signal. So I may have everything set up. I may have a good camera, a good device, the electricity, the room, the environment. My background is all sorted. I look presentable, everything. But the Wi-Fi signal just drops. You know. So that again is a concern. Now, remember a few minutes back, we also discussed that if I don't have content but I have Wi-Fi, it will not work. So all these are interconnected. You cannot let go of any of these components. So, I cannot say that, okay, so, maybe I have the best device, but I don't have Wi-Fi. Or maybe I have Wi-Fi, but I don't have content. So all of these are extremely interrelated, and they are all necessary for your virtual presence to be felt and for the success of your virtual communication. Few things to remember to ensure that this entire process is smooth and successful. Number one is, for any communication to be successful or swift, we need to prepare in advance. More so in virtual, because you know that you are being observed by the audience constantly, because that's the only thing that they can see. They're able to see you and they are observing you. So if I know that 2 days from today I am going to host a meeting, I need to prepare in advance. I need to check if my device is proper, if it is updated, if my mic is working, if the headphones that I'm using are proper, if the Wi-Fi signal is appropriate, if the room is clutter free, if the background that my audience will be able to see is not too distracting. Okay. Also, I need to check if my content is ready, all of those things, preparing maybe a checklist would help. Next, if you see, is looking presentable. Now, a lot of people will argue that this is one thing that we can, let go of, especially if we are at the comfort of our own home, if we don't have to, go out and look presentable. But believe me, this has a huge impact on individuals. We need to look presentable not to impress the speaker. It will impact the way you think about yourself. The amount of confidence that it will give you when you wear a crisply, neatly ironed shirt and your hair is done and you sit for a virtual meeting with your laptop, the amount of inputs that you will be able to give will definitely be more than when you have just got out of bed and you are in your night dress and your hair is all frizzy and you sit in a meeting, you have nothing to say because you're too lazy. Okay, let me give you an example of an excellent speech that I had heard a few days back. There was a person who was suffering from anxiety, and he was not. I don't know if he was suffering from depression, but uh, this person who was trying to help him get out of this entire episode told him that the first thing that you can do to help yourself is when you get up in the morning, make your bed. Now, if you ask any normal person, and if you say, how is making my bed going to make things better? How am I going to overcome anxiety? But believe me, I tried it personally and I felt that it makes a lot of difference. You start owning up to things. You get accountable. The moment you become more accountable for your own actions, you take charge of things and you change them. You don't wait for anybody else to do that for you. Okay, so this is very, very important. It helps us, it does not help anyone else, right? So there's no harm in trying. Next point is understand and be patient. We've already discussed this. Technology is going to come with its own cons, its own glitches. We need to understand the story on the other side as well. I need to understand that if I have asked you to give me an answer, I should not be expecting the answer at the very moment. I need to understand the audience might not necessarily know how to use this app, might not necessarily know how to type so fast. They are new, they might take time. By the time responding, I have moved ahead. Okay, so I have to have the patience and the understanding. Voice is extremely important in any form, I say, not just virtual, but we need to understand that it's very important to have a slightly louder voice than I would otherwise have because of the impact that creates on myself and the audience. A slightly louder voice for different reasons. Number one, it can be because maybe the device that I'm using might not capture the exact volume of my voice. So just to be sure that I am audible. Secondly, I feel more confident when I'm saying things a little louder. I feel like I have some kind of authority, I have confidence, I'm prepared. I'm prepared to tell you what I feel, and I'm prepared to take suggestions or questions from you as an audience or as a listener. So this is again very, very important to remember. Okay, so that's it from my side. I would like to end this by saying that today we are talking about this subsidy of communication where we talk about virtual communication. But believe me, this is most probably our future. Okay, this is what will look like future. Okay, today we are still in the process of getting used to this entire virtual communication game, but in a few years from now, this is going to become like any other form. It will almost be like you and I standing next to each other and talking to each other. This is going to be the new normal, and this is what the future will look like. So, thank you again.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Let's say take a scenario where I'm speaking to you, face to face, and the conversation happens, and then things gets over. But in case of virtual communication, let's say, for example, like say Zoom call or somewhere, there's the option to record.
Right.
So it does give a one more, added advantage of getting recorded what you said. So
Yes.
that person should not turn around from his words. So
That's
those
great.
is the additional things,
True.
where we should be, I feel we should be very careful what we are speaking on the such kind of digital enabled communications.
That's right. Rightly said, sir. The recall value for these conversations is definitely higher than face to face. So even, for example, when you and I are talking in person, the next day we might probably not remember some things that we had spoken about. But in this case, there is 100% chance of finding the recording and marking the words. So rightly said, we need to be very careful about what we speak.
Thank you very much for attending this webinar, and Manisha ma'am, thank you very much for sharing your
Thank you.
knowledge.
Thank you, sir. Have a good